is a fire in their center office. It burned up everything in the room until it ran out of oxygen. Oh, it may look quiet now, but that is its deception. For hiding inside are unburned natural gases, waiting for a breath of fresh air.
Hello and welcome to Theme Park History, the channel for everything to do with theme parks, old and new, big and small. In today's episode, we turn up the heat and face a raging inferno as we explore Backdraft, a fire special effects show that opened at Universal Studios Hollywood on July 1st, 1992, and Universal Studios Japan on March 31st, 2001. This attraction was suggested by all these pyromaniacs, so thank you to everyone for the comments. As always, if there's any attraction you would like us to cover in a future video, leave a comment down below. You never know, your suggestion might be next month's video. Based on the 1991 film of the same name, the attraction shows guests how the pyrotechnic effects of the film were created, and even experience some of them firsthand. With over 40 searing special effects, including exploding barrels, shooting fireballs, blazing beams, and walls of flame which are nearly 2,000 degrees, all completely controlled within a fireproof soundstage. Backdraft offers a behind-the-scenes look at filmmaking and is quite literally the hottest attraction ever created.
Happy anniversary to you, you world-famous studio that takes people behind the scenes. Happy anniversary to you, you shark-infested banana breath. Beat me up, Scotty. 8.3 on the Richter scale plays. Happy anniversary, Universal Studios Hollywood, whose summer bash has incredible rides, food, fun, and games. So get up here, you party animals. I mean it. Happy 25th anniversary to you.
By the late 1980s, Universal Studios Hollywood had established itself as a must-visit destination in the entertainment capital of Los Angeles. After a record year for attendance in 1989, with visitors increasing by 21% due to the runaway success of the earthquake attraction that opened the year before, Universal would begin work on a multi-million-dollar expansion to complement the studio tour, continuing the park's evolution from tour to full-day theme park. Officially opening on March 15, 1991, the Studio Center, or better known today as the lower lot, involved a reconfiguring of the famed studio backlot, which now allowed guests to come downhill and experience the new area. For guests to reach the lower lot, a giant set of escalators a quarter-mile long called the Starway was built on the hillside. Within the new area would be the new entrance to the Studio Tram Tour, along with the new attraction the E.T. Adventure, which would officially open in June 1991. While the new addition was a hit when it opened, Universal was already planning a brand new attraction to be placed within the lower lot, not only just to help lure visitors back to the park after declining attendance levels, but to also hold their interest until the next major attraction, Back to the Future the Ride, would open in the summer of 1993. As part of Universal's approach to create synergy between its filmed entertainment division and its theme parks, a special effects show based on the 1991 film Backdraft would be coming to Universal Studios Hollywood. The movie, which was released on May 24th, 1991, and directed by Ron Howard, stars Kurt Russell, William Baldwin, Scott Glenn, and Robert De Niro as Chicago firefighters who are involved in an investigation of a string of arson and murders, taking a detailed look into the duties and private lives of firemen. Featuring widespread pyrotechnics and special effects, the film was a moderate success at the box office, grossing $152 million worldwide. Built within a 500,000-foot soundstage and inspired by the Oscar-nominated fire effects that were created for the film, the centerpiece of the attraction has guests in the middle of a recreation of the climactic warehouse fire from the movie. The recreation features over 40 special effects occurring and overlapping during the course of the fire. Some of the effects, bursting into flames only dozens of feet away from guests, reach 2,000 degrees. The fire is actually created by natural gas flame, which is nearly silent. Without a fire audio track, the only sound guests would hear is the sound of the gas jets turning on and off. The sound of the fire is actually an audio recording, which is included within the soundtrack during the recreation. The flames consume 1,000 cubic feet of natural gas per show, or about as much as a typical home uses in 1 year for each of the 200 shows a day. The demand for natural gas is so large that the Southern California Gas Company installed a special gas line to the soundstage specifically for the attraction. Because of all the fire hazards involved with the attraction, Universal would take extensive steps to not only fireproof the building, but to protect the guests as well. The walls and ceiling of the warehouse within a soundstage are finished with an inch of a coating material used in industrial refineries. Studio engineers designed a system in which a cool air curtain shields guests from most of the heat, while a ventilation system replaces all the air inside the warehouse, 200,000 cubic feet of air every minute. The building also doesn't merely have typical fire sprinklers for protection, and instead has a deluge system, which is a system that is usually used over a large hazard or area. All of the nozzles in this system are open, and when water is released, it flows from all discharge devices. With a price tag of $10 million, Backdraft, 10,000 Degrees of Live Excitement would officially open at Universal Studios Hollywood on July 1st, 1992. A copy of the attraction would officially open with Universal Studios Japan on March 31st, 2001. Located in the lower lot at Universal Studios Hollywood and in San Francisco at Universal Studios Japan, guests enter Soundstage 30, which was made to look like it was used during the filming of the movie. Once inside the soundstage, guests enter the pre-show, which is broken up into 2 separate stages. Inside the first stage, known as the Backdraft Filming Center, guests watch a brief movie hosted by director of the film and Arrested Development narrator Ron Howard. Howard discusses the meaning of backdraft and about how he made the movie. He explains that a backdraft is a fire that burns out all the oxygen in a room and only leaves superheated gases which are extremely dangerous. Howard explains that the movie's crew and cast worked tirelessly to provide an almost realistic picture of how dangerous fire is and the heroism of firefighters. The crew and cast attended daily rehearsals whereby toppling sceneries, flying ash, smoke, and flames always surrounded them. The acting rehearsals took place in 3 parts. The first rehearsal scenes were for the actors, the second scenes for the camera, and lastly, the last scenes captured the special effects. In order to maintain realism throughout the film, the actors and crew practiced their roles by setting fire to old Chicago warehouses to make the fire into a living, breathing entity. Guests then enter the second stage, the fire station set, where another movie featuring 2 of the film's main actors, Kurt Russell and Scott Glenn, is shown. The 2 actors explain the difficulties they faced, together with the other cast members, to make the film look as realistic as possible to the moviegoers. Glenn explains that only a few of the scenes in the movie used models, while the rest of the scenes were all real and that everything was very hot. The most shocking revelation is about the last warehouse scene from the film being also real, with the 2 actors attached to a harness and Glenn's coat actually being set on fire. Russell offers a tribute to firefighters and insists that the movie was not only about the fire effects, but also the real firefighters who are the true heroes. Star-Lord's dad talks about how the movie gives the flames their own personality, and while describing one scene from the movie, a flame appears on a lab bench right in front of the guests, and eventually, the flame explodes into a fireball. A buzzer sounds, directing the guests to head into the next stage. Guests then enter a soundstage resembling the warehouse scene from the climax of the film, and line up on a tiered observation platform overlooking the entire warehouse. Suddenly, a small fire starts inside a center office and burns everything in the room until there's no oxygen left. A narrator explains, "There is a fire in the center office. It burned up everything in the room until it ran out of oxygen. Oh, it may look quiet now, but that is its deception, for hiding inside are unburned natural gases, waiting for a breath of fresh air." Suddenly, the office doors are blown away, causing a backdraft and releasing a huge fireball towards the ceiling. A massive fire starts within the warehouse, causing the rupturing of fuel lines, melting of metals, and withering heat. There are massive explosions caused by flammable fuel drums and red-hot ashes which rain throughout the structure. The finale sees an imposing ball of fire finally consume the roof of the warehouse, causing it and the platform the guests are standing on to collapse about an inch. The fire dies out, and a crew member yells "cut and print," congratulating the guests for surviving the inferno. While basically the same attraction, there are a few differences between the Hollywood and Japan version. While guests enter just a soundstage in Hollywood, guests enter a building that is themed with a firehouse facade in Japan. Another difference is where the location of the second stage is. In Hollywood, guests are on a fire station set, while in Japan they are on a set of a city alley, where guests see the warehouse and the fire burning inside the building. Reception to the attraction was mixed, as guests felt the pre-show was a bit lackluster and somewhat boring, but praised the fiery finale as an impressive affair due to the massive display of different special fire effects. While Backdraft, 10,000 degrees of live excitement placed guests in the middle of a blazing 5-alarm fire that was just as realistic as seen in the film, the experience would become more than just an attraction on September 24, 1992. A fire in the air conditioning ducts of the show building would force the attraction to be evacuated. The cause of the fire was due to an air conditioner contractor accidentally setting fire to the cardboard ducting when soldering a copper pipe. The fire caused black smoke to blow into the final warehouse scene, where about 500 guests were, who thought nothing of it as they believed it was part of the show. The building was evacuated, and the fire would be put out within 15 minutes by county firefighters stationed within the backlot. The attraction would remain closed for the rest of the day, with the damage estimated at $150,000, but would reopen the following day. It would be announced in early 2009 that the Hollywood attraction, along with the special effects show, would officially close by September of that year in order to make room for their replacement, Transformers The Ride 3D. The closure of both attractions would be pushed back in order to appease the temporary closures of other attractions in the area for their annual refurbishment. After 18 years of operation, Backdraft would officially close at Universal Studios Hollywood on April 11, 2010. So why did Backdraft close? While it was a fan favorite at Universal Studios Hollywood, the popularity of the attraction had dwindled over the years, which made it an obvious candidate to be replaced in the space-restricted lower lot. Another reason for the attraction's closure was a change in approach by Universal with their attractions. Dubbed edutainment, the attraction featured a unique blend of both educational and entertainment, and along with Earthquake the Big One, Alfred Hitchcock, The Art of Making Movies, and Twister, Ride It Out at Universal Studios Florida would be a staple of Universal theme parks throughout the 1990s. While the parks were originally designed to provide guests an exciting, informative behind-the-scenes look of the magic that takes place on the silver screen, by the early 2000s the movie-making focus was pushed to the background to instead place a bigger focus on attractions based on the popular films of the time. With this change, Universal would go on to close the edutainment attractions, as they weren't as popular when compared to the more contemporary attractions. While Backdraft at Universal Studios Japan is still in operation as of July 2019, one has to believe that it's only a matter of time before the fire is extinguished for good. While it isn't the most exciting attraction Universal has created, Backdraft offers guests a look behind the camera of how the special effects in the film were accomplished while also letting them be part of the movie-making experience as well. Besides featuring what were at the time groundbreaking pyrotechnic effects for a theme park attraction, the live show also helps guests to appreciate the work not only done by special effects technicians, but also firefighters in their day-in, day-out activities of extinguishing fires and saving lives. So that is the theme park history of Backdraft. As always, thank you for watching the video and supporting the channel. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel. If there's any attraction you would like us to cover in a future video, leave a comment down below. Once again, thank you for watching, and until next time, the funny thing about firemen is that night and day, they are always firemen.
I pass on this tip. If you hear a fire engine, get out of the way. They're not going to the movies.